Hi everybody, my name's Luke, and today I'm going to start to explain the different types of growth teams that you can build and who to hire. We've seen across multiple industries and companies of all sizes, having one or multiple growth teams is vital for company growth. It allows your company to gain speed, autonomy, and to embed a culture of rapid experimentation. And this means that you can grow faster than your competition. It's a complete paradigm shift on how to grow your business. We'll be sharing key resources to help you implement the learnings from these videos on the link below. So let's get started. In this series, we're going to cover 5 different teams. We're going to have the standard team, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to do the retention team, the lead generation team. We're going to do the performance marketing team, and then we have the corporate team. And last but not least, we're going to teach you how to implement this inside your organization. Let's start with the generic team, which has 4 key team members, and this might resemble some of the agile teams that you've seen before. We have the growth manager or the product manager, we have the growth engineer, which is the developer, the designer, which is the hipster, and we have a growth analyst or the data scientist. Let's start with the growth PM. The first hire is essential. The growth PM will help build the team, do senior stakeholder alignment, and they'll help implement growth inside the organization. Anu Hariharan did some research into Silicon Valley and found that 100% of growth experts refer to the first few hires as magnets for hiring and scaling the team. We advise promoting someone internally for this role, and we've even seen that designers and growth analysts are getting promoted into this role. But you can also hire external stars. This person must love product and marketing equally, be process-driven, data-oriented, creative, have a strong personality, be a T-shape, and we can't stress this one enough, have amazing soft skills. We suggest that you look for people who have a digital marketing background, an entrepreneur mindset, ideally have been a startup founder before, and has some experience with growth, maybe a former head of growth. Next, let's look at the type of developer you need. So the growth engineer or full stack developer. Hiring for this position is a challenge. One of our trainers, Sebastian, who is a growth engineer in Silicon Valley, said that finding this skill set is like finding a needle in a haystack. The definition of a good growth engineer is their ability to jump into new code or parts of the code base that they don't usually work with and figuring out how to run tests. Ideally, the engineer is a full stack developer. This means that they know both front end and back end code. Another way to think about this is make things pretty, which is front end, and make things work, which is back end. Growth engineers must have this mindset to be able to make changes fast, believe in minimal viable product, build fast, fix later, doesn't mind using off-the-shelf frameworks and tools in order to increase speed of experimentation. They also have to love data and can set up end-to-end tracking. This is not the most fun part of their job, but it is one of the most crucial parts. And here's the big one, can communicate. The engineer has to be focused on the goals of the team. They should be able to prioritize and work really closely with the growth designer. We know brilliant developers are extremely scarce, sometimes very expensive. So depending on the amount of time that you actually need from these developers, instead of hiring them, you could work with internal developers and potentially look to acquire maybe 2 days of their help a week. So the next person we have in the team is the designer, sometimes known as the hipster, and this person's going to be the glue between your product and your users. Finding a designer who understands your customer, who understands the product, and who understands growth is super important to your team. They must have customer empathy, and this means understanding user experience or UX and the deep-rooted psychological desires and emotions of the customer. They must have fast execution skills, so think guillotine drop speed. They use conversion-centric design, which means using data provided from the analyst to update designs and user flows, and avoids designing based on subjectivity. The designer will be required to work closely with the developer, love testing, using A/B testing tools and other tools like Hotjar and Crazy Egg to get insights from soft data. It's a huge bonus if the designer understands front-end code. In more established growth teams, it's actually a requirement that the designer understands enough front-end code to implement their own designs. Gino gave us a great tip. He said the designer should not be afraid to get out of the building to test their ideas with real people, embracing guerrilla UX. Last but not least, we have the growth analyst, and we believe that this is the hottest skill set in demand right now. At Growth Tribe, we have Bernardo, David, Juan, and Judith as our resident growth analysts that teach the 2-day AI for Marketing growth course, and they've shared what you need to look for in this person. They have to be equally adept at giving your teams insights from small data sets and large data sets. They have to be familiar with back-end code and database lookup skills like SQL, and they have to tell you what data can be collected and processed. Then they have to be able to use machine learning resources such as Kaggle or Orange or Data IQ. And like the developer, it's really important that the data analyst can communicate both with the team and with senior stakeholders? And can they actually translate complicated subjects for others to understand and use? So that was the generic team. And what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from Yob, our head of growth, with an exclusive interview about how we use growth internally at Growth Tribe. Yob, welcome to our lovely Hack Shack studio. So in this series of videos, we're going to go into more detail about how the growth teams at different companies work. So we had some questions from our community. And the first one is, how did you end up at Growth Tribe?
So I actually worked at various startups, scale-ups here in the Netherlands and in Germany, in Berlin. I worked at Groupon before, so I experienced the company grow from 5 to 500 employees. So it was a really insightful time there. And afterwards I founded my own web development agency. And that sort of emerged into helping scale-ups grow faster, implementing growth into their organization. I actually found out about Growth Tribe through the first 3-month academy I participated in 2015. For 3 months I was learning like everything there's to learn about growth, implementing it as well into actual company. And afterwards I basically joined Growth Tribe.
When I joined Growth Tribe, there was 18 people. It was very small. It was a very exciting time, but you actually joined much before I did. You joined when there was 3 or 4 people. What was it like then? Who was in charge of growth?
So when I joined the team, there wasn't a growth team. The whole company was doing growth. It's actually still the case, but now we're 60 plus people. So we actually have a structure where we have training department, sales department, marketing department. And then on top of that, we have 2 squads. So we have innovation squad and we have a growth squad. And I'm managing the growth squad. We do experiments. We actually then afterwards also own the process of implementing it into the different departments.
So how big is the growth team now?
So the growth team is 5 people, some sales hackers, some growth engineers, some T-shaped players, and I like to keep it this size because there's something called Brooks' Law. It actually means that the more people you add to a team, the less productive you get. Jeff Bezos actually has a funny rule implemented within Amazon. It's that if you have 2 pizzas and the team can't share those 2 pizzas comfortably between the whole team, then the team is too big. And also companies, larger corporations like Spotify, for example, scale-ups, they implemented this tribes, guilds and squads structure in their organization. This enables them to also keep the teams around 6-7 people.
At Growth Tribe, we talk about the pirate funnel. So I'd like to know what part of the pirate funnel you focus on and why.
We actually focus on the full customer journey, the full funnel. So what we have is we have a funnel of around 9 steps, and part of it is covered by marketing, part of it is covered by sales. And we as a growth team, we try to spot opportunities in that funnel. So for example, if we see that conversion rates are going down, then we like to focus on creating uplifts in that conversion rate. And on the other side, if we see that leads are down, we might need to do more lead gen experiments, for example. So if we're doing a growth project, we like to focus on the low-hanging fruits, the quick wins first to show results within the organization. And then we can get more stakeholder buy-in and we can get more impact into the company.
So the other question we have related to this is, how many experiments do you try to run a week or every 2 weeks as a growth team?
So we have 2-week sprints and we run roughly 10 experiments within those 2-week sprints. Part is the bigger projects, so 2-3 bigger projects. They usually last more than 1 sprint. Usually it takes up to 2 sprints. If we work at corporates or if we do coaching or implementation at corporates, then we see that they usually work in 4-week sprints. They get less experiments done, but actually the impact usually is bigger.
How does the growth team divide its time between experiments and like bigger projects that maybe the company wants to work on?
At Growth Tribe, we calculate the ROI of each experiment. So we calculate what's the potential return of investment of this experiment. And afterwards, if you want to put something in production, if you validate or invalidate your most risky assumptions, then if you want to put it in production, then usually you sit with someone from finance or with the CFO or someone to see how this would fit into the roadmap. So we recently did a whole revamp of our own IT system, and what we did first, we validated those pages, those landing pages, with the help of just a landing page builder like Instapage, to see if it's actually working, if it's generating an uplift in conversion. Then afterwards we put it into production and we rebuild those pages just by custom development.
So this is actually, as a trainer at Growth Tribe, this is probably I say top 10 question that I get asked in class. It's, what's the minimum budget that you need to run an experiment or validate an experiment?
I don't think there's such thing as a minimum budget for an experiment. I do think that you can drill down to the most risky assumptions of your ID and that you can test those in a small scale experiment. So for example, if you're going to test a referral program, you're not going to build the actual program. You're going to send maybe an email to a certain amount of people to see if they want it and what's the right incentive for that referral program. For running actual experiments, you don't need a lot of budget. You do need some resources. Obviously, you need some tooling, for example, because tooling enables us to go faster. One last important thing is that if you run experiments, you do need to make sure that they are statistically significant. You do need to, for example, have enough traffic, or you do need to have enough people clicking on those ads to make sure that you can actually defend your results in the end.
I love this question. This is a great question. What's the most important tip you would give someone looking to build their own growth team?
So one of my main tips would be to get the right people. Get the right people to be fully autonomous. Get people with the right skills, with the right mindset, the right get shit done mentality, and that are really eager to learn. One of the things I do, for example, is that if I have a job interview, I will drop 5-6 different things, tools, articles, and if I check in the next conversation, did they read it, did they use it, and they didn't, then I know that they're not eager, they're not hungry for new knowledge. Second tip, if you look to build a growth team, is to make sure that the people you get into your team have the right ability to maneuver within the organization. You can have people with the best get shit done mentality, but if they don't know how to work with different departments, and if you're getting into a bigger company, in a growth team within a scale-up or corporate, then this is the case. So they need to really do a lot of stakeholder alignment, and they need to be able to do this. So the third tip would be to write down some scenarios. What would happen, for example, if you need a tool that requires a credit card and you don't have a credit card? How are you going to solve this? Run through like 5-6 of these scenarios. If you know the blockers up front, you can already start to think about how I can bypass these blockers. A final tip would be to focus on the quick wins first. Focus on the low-hanging fruits, because that enables you to get more stakeholder buy-in if you produce results faster. So don't focus on those big projects in the beginning. Try to just do a lot of small tests to get a lot of learnings and to get potentially more impact.
Thanks very much, Jobby, for your time answering these questions. And I'm sure everybody found them super useful. These are basically some of the top 10 questions we get asked every crash course and every training that we do with companies of all sizes. So it's super valuable. Thanks for taking the time and being in our lovely studio. And if people want to ask you more questions, they can just leave comments in the video and we'll pick it up and we'll start answering these in the next couple of series of videos. So that was the generic team. I hope you found it useful. And in the beginning of the video, I said that we were going to give you a link for key resources from this video so you can implement the learnings. So you can find that here. So just click that link. Next time, we're going to talk about the retention team. And this is super important if your product or service focuses on retaining users to get growth. And if you have any suggestions about who you want us to interview next, please let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. This way, you'll be able to see each video as they come out. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Let me just find it. One final important question here, and this one comes from one of our loyal fans, Judith. She wants to know, if you were going to be a cheese for one day, what cheese would you be and why?
Mascarpone, because you can hide a small horse.
Yes!